What's up, everybody? It's Thursday, December 17th, and this is another episode of Muay Diaz Combat Podcast. And the weigh-ins are done. Jake Paul weighs in at 216.6 pounds. Anthony Joshua weighs in at 243.4. Jake Paul looks a little bit thicker than he usually does, which is not a surprise. He's never really supremely ripped or like in a great shape or nothing like that. I mean, he's in shape, but he's never looked like the part, right? Anthony Joshua looks slimmer than he usually does, this is the lowest weight he's been at in probably, at least the last 5-6 fights, maybe ever. I think the lowest he's ever been since I remember watching Anthony Joshua fight is 245 or 252. So this is 10 pounds under where he usually comes in at, or the lowest he's came in at. He's come in higher before. But he looked good, 243. He looked slim. He looked trim. Still got the six-pack. I mean, he's an athlete, man. AJ is an athlete and a great boxer as well. The press conference was yesterday, and I got to be honest, man. It's so hard to watch Jake Paul press conference. It's just, he is so cringy, and he tries so hard to be like that Conor McGregor character, but it's so not him, and it's not his personality. You can tell that he tries to just force things out to try to be funny, or his shit talking is super whack. You know, when Conor and Chael Sonnen were on top of the game, it was just the smoothest shit talking you've ever heard, because that's them. That's their personality, and that's just how it goes. And to hear somebody like Jake Paul just try to force that out, it's disingenuous to me, and it's not him. And I just wish he would just try not to be that, because it is just so hard to watch. And every time I was watching the press conference, and every time he started talking, I couldn't help it but just start fast forwarding through it. It's horrible. It's so horrible. But that's the official weights, and they'll probably do like a ceremonial weigh-in later tonight, and then the fight is tomorrow, live on Netflix. I cannot wait. But then I wanted to cover Eddie Hearn after the weigh-ins. He had like a little press scrum around him where, you know, different journalists asking him questions and asking him about the fight and what he thinks is going to happen. And, you know, they asked him how did he feel about this fight being made, and he was honest. Like, and that's why I love Eddie Hearn. Like, Eddie Hearn talks a lot of shit too, but I love Eddie Hearn, and he keeps it real. He keeps it 100. So, and he was saying, you know, MVP probably really didn't even want this fight. You know, when things fell out with the Tank Davis fight, you know, they had already invested so much money into that promotion for that fight. And then Netflix was looking to pull the plug on Jake Paul if he didn't find a replacement. And Ngannou said no. I think there was another offer out there. Ryan Garcia said no. So they ended up with AJ, you know, and AJ and Eddie Hearn, Matchroom, more than happily accepted the offer and showed up to this fight. And he even said, MVP CEO Nikita, business partner with Jake Paul, he goes, I know he didn't want this fight. He goes, and he's not even a big boxing guy, but he knows better than to put Jake Paul in a fight like this. And I believe him. You know, I've said it before, and people that have been following the channel know there's no love lost between me and Jake Paul. I don't really enjoy watching him fight, but I do watch the fight because this is part of what I do, and I love the boxing game, and he has brought a lot of eyeballs to boxing. I give him that respect. I talk shit about him for just the way he is, but I don't talk shit about the way he conducts his business, because he is a good businessman. He's very smart in the way he does his business, and he's brought a lot more eyeballs and given a lot of opportunity to undercard fighters, and especially women boxing, that they would never have this opportunity if it wasn't for Jake Paul. So I do give him his credit in that sense. But I know he can sit up there and say that he's different, that he's this, that he's that he has almost like a delusional self-belief in himself. And that's a good thing for most people, and whatever your line of work is, to be almost like you believe in yourself so much that at times you can be delusional, right? but that's good in most things. But in boxing, that's not a good thing. Like, it's a detriment to your health, and they addressed the comments that AJ said at the press conference, that if he died, basically did the Ivan Drago, if he dies, he dies, But Eddie Hearn said it right, when you go into this game in the fight business, whether it's boxing, MMA, the whole point of the two men getting in there is to render that person unconscious as quickly as possible. In MMA, submit them or knock them out as quickly as possible. That's the end game. Like, I know some guys don't have the power and they'll out-technique you the entire 5 rounds or 12 rounds, But even Floyd had finishes, Early on in his career when he was Pretty Boy Floyd, not Money Mayweather. Even he was having finishes. That's the whole point of the fight game. You're not getting paid by the round. You're not getting paid by the hour. Get in there, get your business done, get out, cash that check, baby. That's the name of the game. That's the reason for the prize. You prize fighter for a reason. And but he said, I hope Jake Paul leaves the ring healthy and safe. But he's in there with a 2-time former world champion, heavyweight world champion, gold medalist. It's from another cloth, man. I mean, that's just the truth. And people are going to say that this isn't a real fight and this isn't that, and it's a setup. I'll get to that in a minute, because I'm going to go down some betting lines and I'm going to let you guys know why this is a legit fight. But, he was asked about how, what he thinks about Jake Paul's self-belief and all this. He goes, it's great. He's going to need a wheelbarrow to carry his balls to the ring, because he's got to give him that respect that he accepted the fight. But he goes, deep down, Jake Paul is petrified. He knows what's going to happen. He knows what's waiting for him once he steps in between those ropes. This is not a 65-year-old Mike Tyson. This isn't an over-the-hill, straight out of rehab, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. This isn't an over-the-hill, former UFC world champion and Anderson Silva. This isn't an over-the-hill, former world champion in Tyron Woodley. This isn't even the guy who beat you in Tommy Fury. This is a 2-time unified heavyweight champion who is known to just absolutely decimate people in the ring. He's got to know what he's walking into. I mean, you can have all the self-belief in the world. I can believe all I want in myself, that I can go on there and be a UFC champion. But man, facts are facts, man. I'm just not that good enough, and Jake Paul is just not that good enough to beat Anthony Joshua. Doesn't have the skills. He doesn't have the application to render shots. He's never showed that he's got great footwork like Usyk. He doesn't have big power at heavyweight like Dubois. He doesn't show the speed like Andy Ruiz. I mean, he can be delusional all he wants, but facts are facts. He's just not that good. And, and Eddie Hearn touched on it that, real fighters are just made differently. They're cut from a different cloth. Their mindset works differently than the average person. When I was fighting actively, I thought a different way than I do now, because you're ingrained in the training room. You're sparring. You have one goal, and that's to beat the guy who they're going to put in the ring with you or in the cage with you, 2 months from now, 3 months from now. Your whole purpose is to beat the living shit out of that guy and get him out of there and get paid and wait for the next opportunity, and you got to go through trials and tribulations. You got to go through hard times. Some people are working jobs and training. You got ups, downs. You're behind on your mortgage. You got to win this fight. You got kids to support. All these things that make the great fighters great, Jake Paul's not that. He just isn't. I mean, everyone has their own road, and I'm not saying that his was easier than AJ's or vice versa. But, I mean, what fight have you seen that Jake Paul's had to go through adversity and come out on the backside? When has he ever really been down in any fight other than the Tommy Fury fight, which he got beat? He's never had to dig deep. He was never even hurt in that fight. He just got outboxed by a guy who was a club-level fighter in Tommy Fury. He never really got hurt in that fight. He never got cut. He never got put down and like just beat up in that fight. He just got outpointed. So he's never had to work through any adversity inside the ring. Outside the ring, I don't know. I'm not going to speak on that, you know. But inside the ring, he's never had to do that. I just don't think Jake Paul is really ready for what he's going to face tomorrow night when he walks between those ropes and sees the two-time unified heavyweight world champion Anthony Joshua across the ring from him, just waiting to take his fucking head off. I don't think he's ready. He's not ready at all. And he's used to fighting guys that are either way older than him or way smaller than him in weight and haven't been boxing their whole lives. Anthony Joshua is not that. He's bigger than him. He's technically better than him. He's got more experience. He's gone through the trenches. He's came back from losses and scored knockouts against one of the best heavyweights in history, and Vladimir Klitschko. I mean, he's sold out 100,000 stadiums in Wembley. I mean, Anthony Joshua, for the longest time, not including the last 4 or 5 years, was the pinnacle, absolute pinnacle of heavyweight boxing. Not British boxing, not English boxing, but the heavyweight world, the pinnacle, the tip of the spear. Anthony Joshua was that. And fucking Jake Paul is nowhere even fucking in a telescope's view of that. Not even close. So, Eddie Hearn kept it 100, and I agree with him 100% on that, And then a couple other things that he ran through before I get back to this being a real fight. A couple of things that he addressed in this little scrum, journalist scrum. Crawford retiring, and he goes, look, man, he just fought the best fight of his life, got the biggest payday of his life against Canelo Alvarez. And he goes, me being promoter, I can see how this could be like a bargaining chip, him retiring, getting out of mandatories, and then possibly coming back and, reunifying all the titles to be undisputed once again. He goes, or he could have just been content and happy with the money he's made and, live the rest of his life comfortably and spend time with his children and his family. And there's nothing wrong with that. And, but yeah, shout out to Terrence Crawford, man. He retired, I believe it was yesterday. So if anybody deserves it, it's Bud, man. He's the history-making Bud Crawford. So if anybody deserves to retire and ride off to the sunset as, the undisputed champion, it's Terrence Bud Crawford. Cheers, champ. And then the other fight that he addressed, Jerome Boots versus Virgil Ortiz. He was saying that Golden Boy is trying to chase down Errol Spence versus Virgil because they're both DFW guys. For you guys that don't know, it's Dallas-Fort Worth, DFW. That's what it stands for. Virgil's from Grand Prairie. Errol's from Dallas. So, it'd be a good fight here locally. But Errol Spence hasn't fought in nearly 2 years, So I don't know how you could sell that fight to be bigger than Virgil versus Jerome Boots Ennis. I think that's the fight to make. I think that's the fight. And he has said it himself. He goes with so many big fights coming up, Teofimo versus Shakur, Fury, AJ after this fight. Jerron and Virgil is the next big fight that everybody wants to see. The real boxing diehards, the purists want to see that fight. And I agree 100%. And then they asked him about Conor Benn. Conor Benn is the mandatory. He was made the mandatory for the WBC, so he's got to wait on Ryan Garcia and Mario Barrios. And whoever wins out of that fight, I think Ryan has a good chance. I like El Azteca, Mario Barrios, but I think Ryan going up into this weight is going to be a force to deal with. And Mario Barrios, his last couple of fights, shown that he's a little gun shy, man. And if you do that with Ryan, it's going to give him a perfect opportunity to land that big left hook that he loves so much. And I could see Ryan finishing Mario Barrios with that left hook. So Conor Benn will get the winner of that, whether it's Ryan Garcia or Mario Barrios. Either way, I'd love to see Conor Benn get a shot to win that green title that he loves so much that his dad held back in the 80s, or the 90s, sorry. And then he spoke on Crawford not willing to pay the WBC. And at first I was like, good for Crawford. I get it. The sanctioning fees are very high for some people, and they usually do a percentage, whether it's 2%, 3%, however much your purse is, that percentage will go to the sanctioning body, whether it's the WBC, WBO, WBA, or the IBF. The only one that doesn't take a sanctioning fee is the Ring Magazine. But the other ones, they all take the sanctioning fee. And he goes, the reason I didn't like what Crawford did to the WBC by not paying was when they made the fight with Canelo, the WBC has to be a part of that for you to be undisputed. He goes, so these things are already put in the contract. He goes, the WBC could have, charged Terrence Crawford 3% on $30 million or whatever he made, but they capped it at $300,000. I know that it's a lot of money. To guys, people like us, ordinary people, $300,000 is a lot of money. But if you just made $30 million, if you really want the title that you already agreed to fight for in your contract, I can see what Eddie Hearn's saying now. And he said, he went in there, he agreed to it in the contract, and then we just figured, well, I'm just going to fight for the title, win the title, but then I'm just not going to pay them. That's kind of a shiesty move, to me. Like, if you agree to something, you have to pay, right? Now, if he didn't agree to it and then decided not to pay and then relinquish the title, that's another story. But if you agree to it in your contract, which I don't know, I'm not going to say that he did or didn't, but if he did, then that is kind of a slimy move, But I love Crawford, but if that's what happened, which I don't know, I'm speculating, just going off what Eddie Hearn said, then yeah, that could be a little shiesty, right? But other than that, so going back, so I got a couple people saying that this fight is not a real fight and it's just a sham and it's a, bullshit to boxing. Listen, to a certain extent, I agree. I think they're doing it in Miami because it's probably the Florida sanctioning body. It's probably maybe one of the only commissions that would sanction this fight. But they did find a sanctioning body to sanction the fight, and it is a real fight. And I'm going to let you know why it's a real fight. Look at the betting odds. Vegas is going to let you know if it's real or not. As much as I love Mike Tyson and as much as I wanted him to beat Jake Paul, whether it was fixed, set up, pre-scripted, whatever you want to say, they all had Jake Paul winning that fight. He was the major favorite in that fight. As much as I thought Mike Tyson could, give me a glimmer of 90s Mike Tyson, give me one round of 90s Mike Tyson, I'd still pick Mike Tyson to win that fight. But it's not what happened because we got to face facts. 65-year-old plus Mike Tyson, man, going against a 28, 29-year-old kid at the time. I mean, it is what it is, man. I mean, and it's hard to say that about legends and heroes that I grew up watching, but he was an old man. It's an old man fighting a young, hungry guy in Jake Paul. And is Jake Paul a great boxer? No, but he's got power. He's a 200-plus pound man. Anybody who's 200-plus pounds that knows how to throw a punch properly, which I'm not saying he's the best technical guy, but he can still land a shot. And if he can land a shot against anybody, those guys are going to go down or get hurt at the very least, But I'm saying that to say this. The betting odds from Las Vegas right now have Jake Paul at a plus 600 to plus 700 to win this fight. Anthony Joshua is a minus 1,200 all the way up to a minus 1,300 to win this fight. Meaning you'd have to bet $1,300 to win $100, right? And I say that because I'm going to go back and look at some of the widest spread odds that I've seen lately in the last few years, 10 or so years. Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm. Ronda Rousey was minus 1,400. Holly Holm was plus 830. Holly Holm won that fight. GSP was minus 1,300. Matt Serra was plus 850. Amanda Nunes, minus 1,125. Juliana Pena, plus 700. And the most recent one that I think is the record high right now, Malcolm Wellmaker was a minus 2,500 versus Chris Montino, who was a plus 900. All these people that I just mentioned are all professional fighters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of those are all current or former world champions at the time. And those were the betting odds. Some of these are better betting on, are higher than the minus 1,200, 1,300, plus 600, 700 that this fight's going to have. So even if the lines look so big, it's a legit fight. And Vegas is going to make the odds as if it is a legit fight. So to me, that's showing you that it's a legit fight, because that's what I'd be looking at. If it wasn't a real fight, these lines would not be as wide as they are. But since it is a legit sanctioned fight, that's why they have AJ so high. I'm surprised they don't have AJ over minus 2,000. You know, I really don't. I'm surprised they have Jake Paul as a plus 600. I thought they'd have him, lower than that, higher than that, or lower than that. I just don't see a way of Jake Paul winning this fight, you know. And I know they asked Eddie Hearn, if he goes more than 2 rounds, is it a loss, considered a loss by AJ? And he was like, no, because if a loss is when you lose a fight. He goes, AJ ain't going to lose this fight. He goes, now, if it goes the distance, then public opinion is going to change a little bit, and they're going to look at AJ in a different light, and maybe they're going to start wondering, man, how's he really going to deal with Fury, you know? But I think AJ gets it done, and I think he gets it done within 3 rounds. You know, then that's being I'm giving him an extra round just out of generosity. I think it doesn't go more than 2, you know, because if AJ can land 4 or 5 shots, it's going to be a bad night for Jake Paul. Jake Paul has never been hit by somebody like this. He's never been in the ring with somebody in the caliber of Anthony Joshua. With the experience, everything that he's done in the sport, Jake Paul has never seen it before. And I truly believe when he steps through those ropes, he's going to be rethinking his fucking life when he walks in there and looks over at AJ across the ring from him. He's probably going to be thinking, what the fuck am I doing here? And why did I even accept this fight? So that's all I got for this one today, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell so you get all the notifications. Share it with everyone that you know that loves boxing and MMA. And I will see you guys on the next one. Peace!